Okay, the project Forgotten Vilnius was developing in order to present to the residents and visitors of Lithuania the history of the old town of Vilnius, the capital city of Lithuania, its territorial and architectural development, street plan and change from the second half of the 19th century to these days, using smart technologies and digitized cultural heritage. During the project Forgotten Vilnius, 50 plans of Vilnius and 400 photos by prominent photographs were selected from the holdings of the Wroblewski Library of Lithuania Academy of Science and digitized. These materials served as basis for creation of the web portal, the historical maps. The map portal uses digitized data of historical plans of Vilnius and photographs related together through a common coordinate system and kept as separated data layers. As this data accessible to the public, the users of geographical information systems can browse through them directly online and use for creations. Derivative information products, scientific research and educational materials. The map applications of the project Forgotten Vilnius accessible via title windows of the map portal have been created according to the same principle. These applications this application can be classified in 4 groups. Okay. This application for comparison of maps for 2 different times period which provides the user with an option to select maps for comparison and change their relative size using interactive slider. Second application, this is photo gallery application made up by a list with miniatures and maps showing now probably locales where photos were taken. Touch icon or points on the map opens a larger photo and its detailed description. Third applications for comparison of historical maps with today's territorial images made up by magnifying glass tool showing a fragment of the historical map. And this application for browsing historical photographs that consist of photos arranged by narrative principle and of a contextual map. The photos are grouped chronologically by historical times period, while the contextual map marks the locations of the areas featured on photos. Interactive historical maps can be further used at schools studying historical events with the used cartographic materials of the period in question and comparing this material with today's maps. The map layers created in the frame on the project Forgotten Vilnius may also be layers created in the frame on the project Forgotten Vilnius, may be also used in scientific research. Since we are connected together by a common coordinate system, and so can show precise positions on the object and to carry intercomparable measurements. Finally, these layers are openly available as data services at map portal of Wroblewski library, and so may be used in derivative information products such as 3D models, tourist applications. In this way, historical archival documents are given a new life and can be widely used beyond the library's walls, while still keeping the original documents safe with further generations. I want to a short clip. This is project.
This is how historical data comes back to life, and we are very proud that we have some organizations that do that, like Wroblewski Library. And now I will introduce. Oh, you have some presents.
Present, meanwhile.
Okay, so Reynold, please.
Okay, thanks. You can continue.
Okay. So now I would like to invite another presenter that also made some improvements in how cultural data is represented in GIS. So Romas Jarockis from how should I present you from the
I can present
archive.
myself.
Okay, you will present
Yeah,
yourself.
I think everything is written here. Only I should say from the beginning, I'm archaeologist. And of course you have question, what this guy archaeologist is doing with Second World War images, aerial images in Vilnius Academy of Art. So I should answer that I belong, because archaeology we can split in two pieces. One piece is traditional invasive archaeology, another piece which is now modern and use a lot of remote sensing and GIS techniques. It's non-invasive archaeology. And non-invasive archaeology normally it covers not only single objects, but also whole landscapes, smaller or bigger scale. So the landscape studies, historical landscape studies is one of the field studies in Vilnius Academy of Arts, because we have students restorators and students, the cultural heritage managers. But now I'm back to the main theme. As I told that I belong to the non-invasive archaeology group, and as I mentioned, we use a lot of different sources. And one of the very valuable sources is historical aerial photos. And what we see in these historical aerial photos, I mean, the main thing is it's lack of time. I can't explain you the processes we do, but according the shadow marks, according the soil marks, according the moisture marks on the surface, on the terrain, we can get some conclusions about the objects, archaeological objects which lay beneath the soil. So they reflect it. While talking about the heritage protection and GIS, I think we are very big friends from very beginning of GIS. I think there's an example of Lithuanian cultural register where we have more than 17,000 objects online, and each object has its own number, and they are fully documented. But I'm not going to talk about that. Unfortunately, the aerial photos, historical aerial photos, they are still absent in this register database. To start talk about the Second World War aerial photos, I would like to give short introduction where it from appear. And of course, as you see in the map, during the Second World War, the large territories were invaded by Nazi Germany, the colored in blue. And of course, the Germans, they have special troops which belong to Luftwaffe, so-called Fliegerkorps. And they normally used planes with special equipped cameras to take photos for intelligence, for choosing the targets, for the attacks, and so on, for military purpose. And this was very centrally organized. And all this territory we see in blue was from 1939 to 1945 was intensively photographed from the air. And millions of negatives after the Second World War, I mean at the end of the Second World War, the British, Americans and Soviets, they've been hunting for this archive because it was hidden. And the British Americans, they succeed to find this archive in several places. And in the August 1945, when this material was collected into one piece, it has a volume of 85 cubic meters. I mean, all these prints and negatives were found, and they were shipped to the British Isles, were analyzed for the 5 years. And until the satellite techniques were introduced for the intelligence service, for the spying that was during the Cold War, this aerial photos were used for military purpose, intelligent purpose. So these aerial photos, I mean, these are now, of course, part of our heritage, of the European heritage. The first project we did in 2015, as I mentioned, this big collection of the aerial photos, German aerial photos, is now in two pieces. This duplicated, made two copies. One copy is in Great Britain, in the United Kingdom, in Edinburgh, so-called Tara archive. Another copies are in United States, so-called NARA archives, in the National Archive near the Washington. And we did the project 2015. We received money from Lithuanian Council for Culture, which is collecting 3% from alcohol, tobacco, and gambling. So in Lithuania, I think in Latvia and Estonia, you have the same system. So as much as you drink, you support the culture. And this money were used to make copies, and we succeed to make over 17,000 images and bring back to Lithuania. And we did, and these documents are very precise. As you see in the corners, there are special marks, and there is the watch, which shows precise time when the photo was taken, and also there is given the numbers where we can find the marshroute, which was taken to fly. And here you can see this sort of black paper working sheet where this marshroute was on the map put. And here, another project we did last year. All these aerial images which were over the Lithuania were 2013 flying roads with GX numbers. They were put online. Of course, online at the moment we have only up to 10 flights, and I would like briefly to demonstrate how it functions. Of course, the application is very simple, as it was shown before. The main trick is we can compare modern orthophoto images and with historical aerial photos. And all this application is in the internet site of the National State Archive, so it's available for the public. And of course, so now it's appeared. And normally you can use by scrolling of the mouse, and you can see this road, because our idea was just to put in as it was original, not mixing up the photos, but just showing how originally plane, which has started from somewhere from Eastern Prussia and came to Riga and came back. So these roads are original, and we put photos. And when you click on this, you can find information when it was done and how many negatives are in this row. And you can find the locations also by sorry. If you write the place names, or you can do it manually. As I mentioned, the archaeological monuments, here you can see the Iron Age hill fort. What we do, archaeologists here, there's a hill fort, so of course we can have a look how does it look like now. But I mean, the hill fort is only one part of the whole mini region landscape which is surrounding. The hill fort is fortification, but every fortification has settlement where the people lived, or villages surrounding the hill fort. Also, there were cemeteries, there were old roads, and different kind of infrastructure objects. And as I told that, looking at any shadows, any soil marks, any crop marks, we are trying to find the objects which are below. And of course, this program is rather new, but we got response already from other professionals who are working in the field of protection. We got response from Koronian Spit National Park. They are very happy because they are not only historians and archaeologists, they have also some people working with coastal erosions, with the moving of the dunes, with the birds, with the flora and fauna. So they are very happy with this material also. And this material is available in a very simple way. You can use it. That's only shortage of time. I can demonstrate other many cases, but we can go to Vilnius. Perhaps it was already one project was already finished. I will show you. The first is Vilnius. Of course, we can compare the pictures how the town looked when it was just taken by the Soviets in July '44, and you can see very clearly which part of the town was burned down, and also you can have a look how these buildings were replaced in the Soviet time. But as I mentioned, that was already this material was used for research. We have outside the Vilnius, missed something, here. We have some places, because it's the biggest place of the, call it Holocaust site, where the large population of Vilnius was killed during the Nazi occupation time, and it was in this place is now this monument, where you can see that these pits where over the 17,000 people were killed and buried here. And of course, it was a plan of the reconstruction of this monument, and it was a need to make some additional survey, and aerial photos of the Second World War were used very successfully because we found some other pits and where the people were buried, but they're not marked, not shown on the surface now. So also additionally, we used other methods as LiDAR images, also ground scanning with infrared waves, and also some geophysics we did. So we combined all these three methods, and we got results that we have found some 3-4 new pits. So now when the moment will be reconstructed, we can expose these features. And if you're going back, F5. Dar kartą. Okay. 1 minute. I just want to go back to the what I shown you before, it was how it could be used for the heritage by professionals, for the heritage protection, promotion, and so on. But it was interesting to get the response of the general public when this application was online. And we got interesting comments, and of course this site was visited. And you see the peak when it was introduced, this program introduced on the national television. So I mean, this application is very important for the specialists. And if you could conclude, this is for knowledge understanding, monitoring, evaluation, planning and implementing, promotion and communication. But the main thing, if you summarize it, it's an effective and low-cost instrument for the scientific and cultural management of heritage. Thank you. So this is Riga, 1944.